I think we do a really good job of taking the time to getting to know them, um, all the way down all generations, and understanding the dynamics and things like that, which make us be able to advise them much, much better.
The first thing I tell my clients is I'll return your emails and I'll return your calls always within 24 hours, usually same day, because that's the complaint I hear all the time. The complaint I hear is my lawyer hadn't called me in 3 weeks. I call him, he doesn't call me back. I send an email, it doesn't get answered. I learned that, my parents were in the grocery business. They told me the only reason they were able to stay in business is because when people walked into the big chain stores, nobody knew who they were. But when they walked into their store, they knew their name, they knew their children's name. And so customer service, I think all of us, when we started the firm, it was one of the things we wanted to make sure that nothing aggravates me more than somebody who doesn't get back to their client on a timely basis, or somebody who doesn't get back to me on a timely basis within the firm. And so I think those are things that we don't tolerate, and I think it's really important to people. I mean, sometimes when people come to you and say, I have 5 lawyers and none of them were any good, I begin to believe it's the client, not the lawyer. But there are stories, and I know they're true, of neglect, basically. And I can get your work done in 3 months. I mean, it astounds me that anybody tolerates that. But, being timely, being responsive, always returning calls, the customer's always right. That's what I was taught. So, we fight over a bill. I say, what do you think's fair? I don't fight over bills. And so I think it's that kind of an attitude that helps the firm attract lots of clients who used to be at mega big firms where they basically were sort of a number, to here where they are a person. And, it's the reason I still come in. I mean, I'm 77 years old. Why am I still coming in? Because I have relationships with my clients that are like family. Yeah. And so, they panic when they think I'm going to step away, and I panic when I think I'm going to step away. So I don't step away.
I think that's the right point, is we treat our clients as family, right? I mean, you call us, the first 20 minutes is just chatting about how's your family, how are your kids, how are your grandkids, things like that, because we're genuinely interested in, these clients are not just clients for one project. We want them to be with us like our other clients that have been here since 1977 when we formed, where I'm now, representing the next generation in that family. So I think always we treat everybody like they're our family and friends, and, we care more about them, their lives. We obviously get their work done and things like that. But, it also helps you advise and do your work when you know the client and you take the time to get to know the client, their family, their business, how they, their philosophy on how they do those things. And I think we do a really good job of taking the time to getting to know them, all the way down all generations, and understanding the dynamics and things like that, which make us be able to advise them much, much better. A lot of times you get interviewed by your client for them to then choose you. But I think we also do an interviewing with our clients to determine, are they a good fit for us? So, I think there are definitely clients out there that probably not a good fit for our firm. And, it's not all about that for us. We want to be a good fit for them. We want to be able to have that relationship with them. The relationship I don't view as transactional. I view it as a long-term commitment between us and the client. And so, I think we take a lot of time to understand the client, vet them in a way, and make sure they're a good fit for us, and not just take on everybody just because it's revenue. That to me is extremely transactional and never ends right. You end up with a client racketeering. But at the end of the day, I think, we choose our clients rather than, and I know our clients choose us, and that's generally how it goes, but we do choose our clients in a way. And I think that creates a more successful partnership with them. I hope my clients don't just, that's my attorney, Scott. It's more of, oh, that's Scott. That's, we go to have a conversation and get some advice and legal help during the process.
So I just had a meeting on Tuesday with a client of mine that I've had for 10 or 15 years. And he's older now. He's not doing great. And, he was talking about how much he loved his advisors. And I said, do you remember the first time, so we were at his house. I said, do you remember the first time I came to your house? And he started laughing. He said, I do. I said, one of his friends asked me to go to his house and help him choose between two lawyers he was interviewing to be his attorney. And this wasn't from me, but I knew both the lawyers, and I to go to him because he was really conflicted. So I went to his house, and we sat and we actually talked about baseball because he was a total baseball nut. And we talked about his business, and we talked about his family, and we talked about his goals and his things. We didn't talk about law. And then he said, well, which one of these two would you pick? And I said, I would pick number A, and here's why. And I said, I think he'll do a really good job for you. He said, yeah, but you've connected more with me in the time you've been here than either one of them ever did. All they did was show me all these legal tricks they were going to do, and you found out about me. So how about you being my lawyer? And I started laughing. I said, that's not why I came here. He said, well, would you consider it? So I think when I used to interview law students to come work here, I never asked them about law school. I never asked them about have you ever written a brief about this or that or the other? I asked them about them because 90% of the time, they all have the tools, but it's the kind of person that they are. And it's the same thing with your clients. I mean, there are clients that I've fired because it was a bad decision to take them on. And I finally just said, I can't do this anymore. You're never going to be 100% right. But I do think that if you concentrate on the human part of this, not like I'm an electrician and I can fix your light. I think it's you get a different feel, not only of who the client is, but the client gets a different feel of what kind of relationship he's going to have. And I think that's more important. That's why firms like this exist. Yeah. Otherwise, we'd all be at King and Spalding, but there are people who prefer to have this more personal relationship. And I think it's a benefit of working in a smaller firm where you can do that, because I don't think when you're in a place where you got to bill 2,400 hours a year that you can take time for that. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the advantages. It's one of the reasons we stayed where we are instead of getting absorbed into big firms during the period where everybody was being absorbed into big firms. And, that was a scary decision, because all of a sudden the price of associates went crazy in Atlanta, and we thought, God, we'll never be able to hire anybody or keep anybody. And all these big firms were buying up firms like us. And the two firms that were most like us were gone. But, I was going to do it because I thought the younger guys it'd be better for them. They were doing it because they thought it was a retirement plan for me. And then we finally figured that out. We didn't do it. And we had a consultant who told us, you're going to be in a niche that there's not going to be a lot of firms like you. And he was right. Mm-hmm. So, you do have these inflection points where you can go either way. And I know the people who went with mega firms, I don't think any of them were that happy that they did it. I think they felt that they had to do it. And, we were sort of the contrarians on that. And it's been pretty good. We've come out okay.